Coach Deborah has a passion and purpose to assist young men, ages 15 to 24, to overcome obstacles and build their best lives. She wants to see every young man live out their potential. She has a master's degree in human services counseling, with a major in life coaching. More importantly, she is the mother of 3 boys, who are exceptional, educated, professional men. Coach Deborah believes it is better to train early, rather than need to fix later. She utilizes basic principles and God-led concepts. Sometimes the only thing a young man has is their credibility or their name. The actions they take are based on the decisions they make. Those decisions align with their choices and result in consequences. Coach Deborah can assist you if you are lost, floundering, or confused. Embrace the help and start building your best life today.
Good evening and welcome to Build Your Best Life. We are so excited to be here today for Blueprint for Success. And my guest today is Dr. Joseph Levette. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, Coach Deborah?
I'm doing wonderful. Just glad to be here.
Yes, me as well. Me as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hi, Carol. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Dan. We are here this month talking about a blueprint for ethical living. You know, we can go around just living life thinking we're on top of the world doing things, but what type of living are we doing? Are we following a blueprint for ethical living? Are we living the way that God wants us to live? Something to think about, right? Well, I think about it all the time. But I want to thank each and every one of you for everything that you do in support of Build Your Best Life. We thank you for your prayers, for your likes, shares, and your comments. Please continue to share with us and comment. We love your comments and we love you to share, because not everyone is going to be on here and hear something that might make a change in their lives. But if you share it with them, it can help. So we greatly appreciate it. And I'm excited about the topic we have today. But before we get started, even though Dr. Levette is well known here on Build Your Best Life, I want him to introduce himself and tell us whatever he would like about what he loves to do.
All right. Thank you, Coach Deborah. First, good evening to everyone. I am Dr. Joseph Levette. I'm 32 years retired military. I'm married to the lovely Tony Levette, and we have 4 children, 10 grandchildren who we love dearly. Currently, I work as a chaplain. I'm a chaplain at Memorial Hospital here in Jacksonville. And I enjoy the work of being a chaplain. I love people. I love God's people. I love just always being there for people. I love helping people. That's like the highlight of my day every day, is that the fact I wake up every morning ready to go in and see who the Lord is going to use me to help get through a traumatic situation that day. I love working with youth, particularly young men. I love mentoring them and teaching them how to be a young man and how to face different difficulties and challenges in life. And that's one of my big things I love to do. And then as well, I just like to live a lot of times by the saying that you won't know if you don't try. And 'cause I believe if you don't try, you'll never know if you could have did it or not. And even if you don't do it, failure does not mean that you lost success. Failure just means that it gives you motivation to keep trying, and eventually you will reach your common goal. And sometimes it may take you a little longer to get where you're trying to go, but if you just keep trying, you'll get there.
Awesome words. Thank you so much. I see some of these people that have tuned in today along those same lines. They love to give and work, like Carol, Deacon Holmes, Dan, all of them hard workers, love the Lord. So, hey, we got us a great community going here today.
Right.
So our topic today is guilty. Guilty. And I know guilty, that sounds like, ooh, guilty. What are you guilty of? But hey, let's get into it so we can find out what's going on here. All right. So, as we navigate through life, we can find that we are in a hurry. We're trying to multitask, even though you can't really multitask. But we're not taking the necessary time to communicate clearly about matters that are essential to our children, to parents, people we work with, and people that we interact with. So, Dr. Levette, do you think that many people miscommunicate, causing most of the turmoil that we see in society today? Is all because of miscommunication?
I would have to say yes, because oftentimes it's because of a lack of communication. It's not always because no one didn't communicate. Is that it's a lack of it. They didn't give enough information. They didn't give enough so the person could probably understand what they're saying. They just perceived in their own mind that they would be able to say what it was that they wanted to say, and that you would automatically get it. Well, that's kind of like the first part of that. Then the second part of that is that, sometimes is that people don't understand what was communicated. They don't understand it. They sometimes they won't even say they don't understand it. And so that can create turmoil, because as they begin to do whatever need to be done, because they don't have a complete and total communication, then they're going to just do it the way they know to do it. And so that's the failure sometimes we can set people up for if we don't communicate properly and clearly. That's what we're going to set them up for. We're going to set them up that they're going to go off and do something totally against what we intended when we first communicated. So yes, it's just sometimes that lack of communication. And then it's just the person not understanding what you were saying.
Yeah, now since you brought that up, now why is that such a big thing? Some of you give somebody some instructions, and they may ask you one time, "What'd you say?" and then you tell them and you see this look on their face, but then they won't say, well, they didn't hear, they don't understand. They just go off and just do something, which I don't get. I mean, you know, why do you think it is that people do that?
I think that's because they both assume. The person who's communicating is assuming by the person not saying anything back to them, they're assuming that they understood what they said and what they said made sense to them. And then the opposite to that is the person who was communicated to, they thought what they heard, they understand it the way they understand it. But they may not understand it the way the person who communicated it understood it. So then there we go. It creates just a big ball of misunderstanding.
All right. Yep. Yes. And then it's the way we say things too. I think sometimes, you know, we're saying the same things, but we say it differently. And it's like, okay, but that's what I just said. Well, that's not what I heard.
Yes, it go to what Carol just said. Sometimes perspective and perception. That's exactly pretty much what I was just alluding to. It's the perspective in which you say it, and it's the perception in which the person receive it.
Yep. And you know what they say about them assumptions.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know, when people misspeak, get the details wrong, sometimes that ends up hurting people. It can cause conflict. And sometimes, you know, people may speak up and say, well, you know, you really hurt my feelings, or they stop speaking, and then you ask them why, and you say, well, from what you said, and they're like, no, it's no big deal to them. But so what are your thoughts regarding individuals who cause turmoil based on their poor communication and then dismiss it without caring about, you know, how the fallout from it or how they're impacting someone?
Well, I'll say to that person is guilty of being selfish. That is the guilty there. They're guilty of being selfish because they don't take the time to ensure that they communicated in a way that the person understood so that it would be a positive outcome. If you don't take the time and make sure they understood it, then you set yourself up for that fallout. You know, it's inevitable that it's going to happen, because then you're gonna get upset and angry about it, because now you're saying, that's not what I told you to do. That's not what I said. Did you hear what I even said to you? Well, yes, I heard what you said to me, but you just said go to the store and get some eggs and milk. You know, you didn't say go get some eggs and milk and get some bacon and some bread, and you didn't say all of that. So you weren't clear. Well, you always know if you get eggs, you need some bacon and and bread to go with it. You know, so it's that simple. You know, if it's not clearly stated, then it can be unclearly executed.
All right. Yes, exactly. You know, negative feelings, riots, drive-by shootings, broken families, broken relationships, cause as a result of poor communication.
Oh, yes.
What if that was a crime? What if all those things were a crime? So, you know, I just communicate poorly. So it's my fault that we're divorcing. It's my fault. You don't speak to me. You don't come to family reunions. Now that's a crime. I think 99% of the defendants would be guilty. Guilty as charged.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You were being modest with the 90%. Yes, that would be, because, you know, a lot of time communication is to bridge to understanding. And if how well you communicate builds a good bridge to cross over to understand it. If you don't communicate well, then you don't give them a bridge. So they're gonna fall in that hole or that ditch down in that water, whatever is in between this side and that side of communication and understanding. That's where they're gonna fall in there.
Yeah.
and you're going to be looking down at them like, why are you down there? You're supposed to be over there on the other side. So yes.
Yep. Selfish people.
Yes.
Okay, have you ever had the book thrown at you because you were found guilty of inciting hurt, harm, or misunderstandings due to not communicating effectively?
Oh yeah, I've been guilty, so I can go ahead and I'm part of that 90% in that regard. Yes, I've been guilty of that. I really remember a lot of times in the military. I remember one time I had just made it being a non-commissioned officer, and my platoon leader he said, Sergeant Levette, here's the mission. Here's what we got to do. We was going to the field, and we play war games and do all of that stuff and train. So he said, I want you to build the plan for this mission. We going out here. I want you to build a plan because we're going to have to be able to attack the enemy. So here it is. I took the time, I wrote out the plan, how I wanted to go based off of all my military knowledge and training that I received. But when I got out to the field, before I get ready before it's time for us to execute our mission, it's up to me to communicate the plan. But guess what? I didn't communicate the plan as I put it all on the paper. I didn't communicate it. And so here it is. We got attacked. We responded. They overtook us. We lost that part of that little fight. And so we had what we call an after briefing. So we go in that after briefing, and my platoon leader said, you know what happened? He said, you didn't communicate the plan the way you wrote it. If you probably would have communicated it to your soldiers the way you wrote it, you would have been successful. But he said, and the main reason I let it go, and because I heard you when you communicated to them, but I knew you were missing some stuff based off what you wrote. He said, but I let it go because I wanted you to understand the importance of being very clear in your communication, being very detailed because lives are at stake. That stuck with me. And so now I started pouting that. Here I was then a young man. I think I was maybe 23 or 24 years old, and I started pattering thinking a lot of times that whenever I try to communicate, I try to over communicate sometimes. I do. If you ask my wife or you ask my daughters, my children, my grandchildren, they would tell you that I over communicate because I really want to make sure I'm detailed in the way I'm communicating, because I don't want that book thrown at me, because that's not a good feeling when you get the book thrown at you, or something get messed up, some get, off center just because you was guilty of miscommunication or bad communication, like in a marriage,
That's right.
Even in a marriage, it's the same thing. Just bad communication can cause most marriages end because of bad communication. A lot of people think it's because of money and it's some of those things, but it's not always that. It's the way they communicate, and then it's a lot of times the way they don't communicate.
All right.
And so that's why communication is just important. Like I said, it is that bridge to understanding. How well you communicate is how well the bridge will be built for the person to understand. So I wanted to give that example because that was like one of the best examples I can remember where it was critical that I communicated effectively, and my leader threw the book at me. He chewed me out, so to speak, as we say in the military. He chewed me out good and said, you got to make sure. He had his hand in my face like this. Next time you got to make sure you communicate the plan detail by detail, step by step, so the soldiers, you don't put them in danger, losing their life, So, yeah. And we have to understand that if communication don't happen, things can become critical.
All right.
They can become critical. So that's my thought on that. But but that's the one that jumped, leaped out immediately when I saw that word, the book thrown at you.
Hey, that was life changing right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's so funny because now most people, they want to communicate via text. They just want to text, email. They don't want to pick up the phone. And so I know last week I had something that was critical. I needed to communicate to one of our ministries, and I did this long message in group me. About 3-4 days later, I went in there to do something else. Well, I had never seen it.
Listen, that's why I don't like to do a lot of texting. You know what? I have this thing, Deborah. Coach Deborah, I have this thing, particularly with my children. When you need something, do not text me. Pick up the phone and call me. And the reason I do that is because I need to fully understand what it is you need. You just sending me a text saying I need $50 ain't telling me nothing. Would need $50 for what? You want to go out and party, or you need $50 to go on a trip? What you need $50 for? You need some food? What is it that you need? So we have this thing, Tony and I have this thing that, don't send me no text. When you need something, call me and tell me what you need. Let me know what's going on, because I might give you more than 50 if I know what it is. And depending on what it is, I might need to give you more if you explain it to me a little more.
Yep. And, it's okay. So the sender, you sending something, and then somebody's supposed to receive it, but the receiver has to get the same understanding that the sender intended. And if you're not really talking, you don't know how they what they thought you meant. Because all of us are not the best English people. So we might write it one way and they may take it another way.
Absolutely. That is absolutely the truth. It's that signal. If you send a signal that the person don't receive it well, it's just a signal.
You can say that's not what I meant all day long. Well, that's what you typed.
Right. It's like when you lose reception with your phone. When you lose reception with your phone, you don't have it's hard to how do you communicate? Some people can't communicate. I mean, matter of fact, I was talking to a nurse the other day, and she was like, yeah, I was late to work. I said, well, why was you late? This was just Monday, matter. This was yesterday. And I said, why were you late? Because the traffic was pretty decent. She said, well, I was late because I got about 10 minutes on my way here and realized I left my phone. So she went all the way back home to get her phone and was late getting to work just because she needed that phone, because for her, probably, and a lot of people, the cell phone has become the most communication tool that they think they have in their life. Most people want to communicate by cell phone. People have full-blown arguments by cell phone.
Yep. What's the best one? What's this? What's that?
Yes.
And many people don't even know how to call their husband, wife, if they don't have the phone, because they don't know the number.
Yes.
I don't know the number by heart. Well, excuse me. You need to know some numbers by heart.
They do.
It's sad, especially now here. We got the two area codes now, and you have to dial the area code.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I will say I'm guilty of that too. I don't know numbers like I used to. I know my number. I know my wife's number. I know my children's number pretty well, I think. But you're right, because all you got to do is go to a name and hit a name and hit dial and it dials it for you. So you don't pay attention to that. But years ago, anybody I had to call, I had to know their number. We had to know their number, because if you ain't know their number, you just had to wait till you got it from someone, or you had to call somebody to ask them what's so and so number. Right. So I think sometimes cell phones have taken away our ability to communicate effectively.
Yeah.
I do
Because
believe
you get in the car, you get mad with the car because you be telling them, okay, I'm gonna be safe.
Yeah.
Y'all so and so. And it calls some other name. That's not what I said.
Right. That is exactly right. I mean, just listen to this. You know what? And you just sparked something to me when you said that, Coach Deborah. You know, uh, what's is it Siri? What's the girl?
Siri,
You got Siri, and then you got what's the other girl? Alexa. Oh my God! And Alexa, if it don't get it something right, we get mad because Alexa didn't get it right. Because when you say, Alexa, play this song for me, play Jesus Keep Me Near the Cross, and Alexa's plays something totally different. So even in technology, communication isn't always clear.
right.
So even when we depend a lot on technology, it doesn't make communication always clear for us. Because you can do talk to text on your phone. And if you hit send before you proofread what you said, you'll see some words in there that you didn't mean to say.
Don't
You weren't
do
trying to
it.
say.
Don't do
So, so we can't rely on the communication of technology.
Nope.
But we can rely on what we know to say, what we can say out our own mouth.
Right. Yeah, you have to be very careful. And see, that's another reason why you're guilty, because I was typing something and I always say I got fat thumbs. I don't know why I say that, but I'm just typing. You know, I'm thinking I'm going slow enough. And because I don't use the little abbreviations you're supposed to use for text, I got to spell out everything. And I looked back down at that thing and it said a bad word. And I was a bad word. I was like, boy, if I had sense, she wouldn't have spoke to me anymore in life. How dare she call me that?
It happens. It just happens. Yeah, it happens because we relying on technology to help us communicate. When there's nothing better than being able to communicate from your own natural voice.
Yep, right, Carol. Carol said we had phone books with names and numbers. Remember that phone book like this?
Yes. Yes. He had one upstairs, downstairs, in every room, everywhere. You got a phone book. That's right. How you call. You're right, Carol. You call people by those about that phone book. That phone book was it. You look forward to them phone books every year when they come and deliver them to you.
That's right. Wow. So that's just how important communication is, people.
Yes.
Everyone is responsible for their actions. It is essential to think before you speak. Failing to do so puts you at risk of being found guilty of hurting a situation rather than making it better. And we should always want to strive to make things better. And I bet I can't remember it exactly, but I was reading, used to be guideposts, and they changed the name Walking in Grace. And I read it today. And it said the lady's name was Amy something, but they said she had this thing, but never say anything before you put it through the sheath 3 times. Mm-hmm. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? That's right. So you saying things, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If not, don't say it. Mm-hmm. You never know what those words are gonna mean to somebody else or what kind of day they're having. It might be one day you can say the same thing and it's okay, but you say it another day and it's just like they lose it. Mm-hmm. So we have to be so careful as we communicate.
That's true.
So Dr. Levette, please provide us with some helpful tips on effectively communicating as people interact with others. Tips that will assist them in building their lives rather than tearing their lives down.
Okay, I'll say number 1, especially as it relates to communication. Speak clearly. Speak clearly. So that way the person can understand what it is you're saying. Number 2, allow the person to repeat what you said back to you, or allow them to explain to you how they understand what you said. Because then if there's any miscommunication, there's the opportunity to clear it up so that now we got a complete and full understanding about what it is that we was trying to get across. So that way we can ensure that we're going to have a good outcome with whatever it is we communicating about. Then number 3, repeat with more details if necessary. Give more details. If they say, well, this is the way I understood it, and you say, well, that's not exactly what I was going with that. Let me give you some more details. So if you have more details, give them more details or explain it more thoroughly what it is that you want them to receive from you. So that way now we both walk away with a good understanding of what was said and what was communicated. Excuse me. And then the last one I have on here, I said, remember that effective communication will most of the time result in a positive and successful outcome. If you communicate effectively, your outcome is always going to be good because everybody understood what was supposed to take place. Now, I saved this for this part too, Coach Deborah. So when I got that chewing out from my platoon leader about that, when I messed up that exercise and that training for my soldiers, I had an opportunity to redeem myself. So about 2 days later, here it is. We're now going to be what's called the aggressors, and we're supposed to attack their camp. So what I did this time, I made sure that I read line by line, step by step on everything that it was that we were supposed to do. And I asked if they had any questions. Do everybody understand what it is we're supposed to do? I had them to say some of the stuff back to me. Okay, what are we going to do after we do this? Okay, what are we going to do when we capture somebody? What are we going to do? And once they got that, that second night, we went in, we overtook that camp, and we came out in victory.
All right.
So it shows you that effective communication does work, and it's going to result in a successful outcome. So that would be my tips on how you can effectively communicate so that you can build your best, that can be assisting you in building your best life. And then I will lastly say, get this book right here. You get this book, Build Your Best Life. This book will help you go a long way, because this book here, one thing I love about Coach Deborah's book is she gives you examples, like real life examples in her book. She don't just go out and give you a lot of research information. She gives you real life applicable things that she's experienced, and it's helped her to be able to help these young men and young women, help anybody build the best life. So I was just saying, get this book, Build Your Best Life by Coach Deborah Smith, and read it. It's so many good nuggets. When I tell you there are so many good nuggets, I am an instructor. I teach in seminary, and I use stuff and quotes from Coach Deborah's book because it helps me in teaching my classes. So that just go to show you how good it is. So there's my tips.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, I thank everyone for tuning in. I hope that something that was said helped you, or it was something that say, hey, this would be so good for my nephew, my brother, my sister. She's a mom trying to raise her son by herself. And please share, because I know I got some good tips. So I know you should have gotten some. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please join us this Thursday. Our topic is going to be personal ethics. Personal ethics. And I think you will enjoy it. So please tune in. And before we leave, do you have anything else you want to leave with us, Dr. Levette?
No, just keep the lines of communication open. If you're married, keep the lines of communication open. No matter what you do on your job, keep the line of communication open. In your church, keep the lines of communication open. Because if you keep the lines of communication open, then that makes for better and more effective communication. And then, like I said, whenever there's effective communication, there's successful outcome. So that's pretty much simple as we can get with it, Coach Deborah. And
right.
thank you so much for allowing me to come on and have this dialogue with you today. I always enjoy being on this platform. So thank you so much for all the opportunities you afford me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, this year on Build Your Best Life, we are talking about blueprint for success. But another thing that we're doing, we are declaring Jeremiah 29:11 over your life. God knows the plans he has for you, and he wants you to have what? Put it in the chat. I know y'all know it by now. Put it in the chat. He wants you to have prosperity. Prosperity. But he also wants you to have the hope for the future. He wants you to have hope. If you have that faith and you know what can be done, he can do it. So design your blueprint for success. Follow the plan that God has for you. And you got to put in the work, and you can build your best life. Absolutely. Remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. Thank you, Dr. Levette, and see you next time.
Bless you.